Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Perth County Council this second day of November. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone could gather for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. If you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. Number 5, we're at confirmation of the agenda. We do have a verbal update in close, so I'll let Tyler tell you about that.
Yeah, so through the warden, we're going to be adding agenda item 14.1, a matter pertaining to security. It's a verbal update, paramedic services.
Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to add? If not, we have a motion that the November 2nd, 2023 agenda be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Orr. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we have 14 consent items. Is there any item anyone would like pulled or they have questions on? Councillor Swinkowski.
Thank you, Warden, through you. Item 6.14, I wanted to pull that aside and offer a letter of endorsement or support to the town of Rainy River. Their issues about water treatment training, accessibility to training, and the ease of training, being that they're remotely located in Northwest Ontario. So I just similar issues that we have in this area, albeit with, say, building department officials, but I just thought it might be appropriate to show some support to our northern neighbors.
Okay, anybody have anything else they'd like pulled? No? Okay. We have a motion that council receives the consent items from 6.1 to 6.13 and approves the October 19, 2023 council minutes. Moved by Deputy Warden Kellum, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else you would like, Dean, you want to support?
Yeah, just a letter of support, endorsing their request to the province for extra support and assistance with adequate training for their water treatment operators.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Trinkowski. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McDermott. Any more questions or comments? Favor? Carried. Okay, we have no public hearings, public meetings, or delegations. So we'll move right to staff reports. And our first report's under the CAO, and it's courthouse tower lighting. And I believe Sarah's with us this morning. She's going to do that. So welcome, Sarah. And John is coming too. So good. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, members of council, Warden Eggets. Today before you is a report regarding the courthouse tower lighting system. Back in 2020, the county was approached by Destination Stratford, who had developed a Lights on Stratford festival during the COVID-19 pandemic. The goal of the festival was to illuminate architectural sites throughout Stratford for an outdoor festival. And certainly with our courthouse being built in 1887, it's an architectural gem in the center of the city and the main attraction in the city as well. So the county proceeded in 2020 with the installation of a color changing LED light system, which has been in place for the last 3 years, but unfortunately is no longer operational and has reached the end of its useful life. At the time it was installed, it was uncertain what the conditions of the tower would do to a system of that nature, being uninsulated and not really intended for electrical and other items to be up there. A lot's been learned since that first system was installed. So Destination Stratford has once again approached the county for participation in the Lights On Festival and would like to see the courthouse continue as a location on that festival circuit. They have approached us with a quote from Moss LED as the preferred vendor to install the new system. They've worked with Destination Stratford on a number of different installations throughout the course of this festival. And they have that specialized knowledge and capability for installations such as this. So they are prepared to install it this year so that we can participate in the festival in December. The new system has a number of different benefits. It's more easily programmed, which would allow the county to be able to acknowledge significant dates. And that's a program that we would have to do some development work on, but the current system didn't allow us to program this and customize exactly what we wanted it to do when we wanted to do it. In addition, the new system will be insulated and waterproofed in a much upgraded fashion from the current system. So we're expecting a greater longevity and no annual maintenance requirements on this item. So before you is an information report, and also we're noting a bit of a change to the motion in that we need council's approval for a single source purchase for the new system through Moss LED. John, I'm not sure if you have anything else you want to add?
Nothing further. I guess my biggest concern with the new system, the old one was, I guess, not maintenance friendly, and as far as programming it or making any adjustments to the system, it was inconvenient at best. So the one thing I am more reassured with this new system is that it's waterproof, weatherproof, and we do not need to be climbing up into the tower to be programming it. So kind of satisfied with this system, and I just think it'd be great to highlight the wonderful building that we have and that we're greatly investing in as well. So
if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? No questions. We have a motion that council receives the courthouse tower lighting report and that council approves a single source purchase from Moss LED for the courthouse tower light installation. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Deputy Warden Kellum. Any more questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're now moving to planning. It's a county comprehensive review prepared by Watson and Associates, and we have Susanna with us this morning. Welcome, Susanna, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, council. So I'm pleased to bring the Watson and Associates comprehensive review to council today. This is a project that the planning department has been working on with Watson and Associates for a number of years. The initial first version of the comprehensive review was initially brought to council, approved by council in April 2020, just as the pandemic was beginning. Following that comprehensive review, council provided direction in June 2021 to update it because of the change in the macroeconomic trends, which resulted in a change in the population and employment projections. So the comprehensive review is a critical part of the preparation of the official plan. It provides population and employment projections in order to forecast the amount of land that will be required for a 25-year planning horizon. The council has received two presentations from Watson and Associates in preparation of this document. The first was in October of 2022, at which point Watson and Associates presented the population and employment projections. And then the second was in April of 2023, when you received the growth allocations, so a projection of the land required for a 25-year planning horizon. So the document it's been finalized now by Watson and Associates, and it's provided to council with a recommendation of adoption.
Thank you. Any questions of the report? Councilor McDermott.
Yes, on page 126. It's showing Township of Perth East housing forecast by service settlement area. And I was just wondering, Shakespeare's the easiest one to take there. Although like in 21 to 26, it has like 10 total residential units. And then in 21 to 31, it has 22. So do you add those residential units up every year to get the final total that you would need?
So this is a projection. So the Watson Associates is a team of land economists who projected based on the census data, economic trends, employment forecast, what the anticipated number of housing units will be required for each settlement area. So what we're proposing, and the draft official plan will be before you shortly, is to monitor the targets that Watson and Associates has prepared on a regular basis. So the intention would be to work with the local municipalities to report back based on the targets that Watson and Associates has provided.
So basically though, if you take those as a target every year, you would add all those numbers up to get your big number target, right?
That's right.
Okay, Councillor Jankowski.
Thanks, Warden, through you. Thanks, Susanna, for bringing this report forward. It's quite detailed and it lays out, I think, in good detail what we can expect if the current trends continue, what we can expect in the future in terms of growth and expansion in the area. The increased need for land, greenfield development, if I can call it that. The residential portion was 245 hectares or about 605 acres, and the industrial portion, commercial, non-residential, 165 hectares, 408 acres, so around 1,013 acres. So that just seems like nice, neat lines to me. Like that's an exact 1.25 miles by 1.25 miles township block, 1,000 acres. So the report kind of lays it out. It'll be to neat lines, but I guess I'm wondering what that will look like in reality. So I guess I'm curious to see later on what the urban growth boundary designations will be for the future. Just it's a question, but it's also a concern that development doesn't always happen in an orderly fashion. And I guess that's up to this council and staff going forward to make sure it happens. So that was kind of a question and a concern all rolled into one.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay.
Councillor Kasenberg.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Kasenberg.
I think if I might, the
It takes a
report,
bit of it. Just takes a second, Councillor Kasenberg. Try again.
if I might, I think this report is rather sobering. The significant demand for land for residential, commercial, and industrial purposes is bound to stir some emotion in the county as a consequence of the potential loss and sacrifice of farmland to that purpose. And certainly I appreciate that the model is well constructed and leverages and continues to leverage changes that are happening. But we've certainly seen a lot of things sort of change rapidly over even a period of 3 years in terms of the projections. I guess I'm just expressing that gentle concern that our reality looks and our future looks like there's going to be more farmland sacrificed, and this in a milieu where farmers are not too happy about that. So I'm not sure what we can do about it, but it's certainly something that should be noted publicly, that concerns lie ahead.
Okay, Councillor Aitchison.
Well, I somewhat agree with Councillor Kasenberg's comment, but unfortunately to have growth, something has to be sacrificed. And I'm a farmer and I want to protect farmland with the next guy. I enjoy growing crops. However, you have to feed the people. So we still need to protect the farmland. And there are solutions to sucking up less farmland. One, instead of building a single family home, you start building up. You use a lot less land. But I read this report. And I'm not that smart, but great numbers and thank you for the report. So, we started this in 18. 21 said, yeah, I don't think those numbers are gonna jive. So they went back and spent a bunch more money and got some new numbers. And I'm sure I read in there, and I was just trying to find it, that we probably haven't got enough land set aside yet. I'm sure I read that in there. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I would agree with that comment, because with what I've seen going on in the last couple of years, yeah, interest rates are high and farm value land's high and residential's high, but you're still seeing more and more people wanting to move to a more rural area. Like that is still going on. That hasn't changed one bit. So you're gonna have huge demand in the rural area. And, with that comes other problems like services, but I honestly, as much as I think this is a great report, I think the numbers are out of line yet. To be honest, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not that smart, but I think we're gonna be in for a rude awakening maybe in a couple, 3 years. So, and further to Todd's point, he said, there's gonna be some issues down the road, but I think you're gonna have more issues than what even Councillor Kassenberg kind of indicated we might have. That's just my opinion.
Okay, Councillor Jankowski?
I guess further to Councillor Aitchison and Councillor Kasenberg, that's where I was going when I mentioned the total land, the total projected acres that would be in play. But I just came from a conservation board meeting, and yeah, there will be other consequences of growth, like the impact on farmland, but also the impact on the natural environment and our natural resources. And there's lists and lists, and I won't go into it in great detail, but I'm concerned about the county and the area being a victim of our own success. And it draws to mind an old engineer. Well, it's a simple engineering equation that stress is equals load over area. So if you have the same constant area, keep adding more load, the stress increases on the area. And eventually, if it becomes overstressed, then it fails. And I'm concerned that we could be successful, but we could lose something in the process. But that's just adding to the other comments that already been made.
Okay, any more comments, questions? Well, we do have a motion that council receives the 2023 official plan update comprehensive review report, and the council adopt the 2023 official plan update comprehensive review. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by Councillor Trankowski. All those in favor?
Can I just ask a quick
Thanks,
question?
Suzanne.
We got planning at the table.
Yep.
So I was reading and Councilor Ward was telling me she was in this course, and province is coming out with a new provincial policy statement here right shortly, hopefully. And their comment was that will supersede any official plan you have. So you could have your official plan done, and if they come out with this new provincial policy statement, and it contradicts anything in your official plan, you might as well throw your official plan out the window and start over. Is that true?
Well, I wasn't at the course, and the provincial policy statement hasn't been finalized yet, so
It's coming shortly.
the department will provide council with comments when the new PPS is in place. Does that respond to the question?
I'm sorry.
I think like from a planning department's perspective, we think that the comprehensive
But the
review
provincial planning statement rules everything, right?
is the planning act.
So if they say, well, you can't do this, and we may have it in our official plan, you can, then that's basically out the window.
The comprehensive review and the department's perspective is a valuable tool in order to balance the various needs for growth over time. And I think that this echoes the comments that. So as we live and work in a valuable agricultural area, the critical role of the comprehensive review is to ensure that at the time of a development application, we're putting our minds to both protecting agricultural land and acknowledging the need for growth. So in in my understanding, and I haven't spoken directly with MMH staff about this, but there will be an opportunity for the county to have comprehensive review requirements in the Perth County official plan, notwithstanding the future direction of the 2023 PPS.
But if the provincial policy says different, then it's a provincial policy we go by.
I think that the planning authority will be able to maintain the comprehensive review requirements if you would like to. Like, I think that will be in the planning authority's discretion.
Guess we'll find out.
Councillor,
Of note, that course I took was through AMO and it was land use planning 2.0. It was an excellent course. It had a lot of great things and it really did support the planners for the fact that they're all doing a great job. And then exactly what was just stated, the EPS could, change the course again. And if anybody wants to take that course, I highly recommend it.
okay. Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to corporate services, and our first one is the MSSC 2024 budget report for Stratford Perth Archives. And Betty Jo is joining us on the screen this morning. Morning, Betty Jo. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, everyone. The report that you have for me today is a summarized version of the archive's planned activities and draft budget for 2024. It will be presented at the MSSC meeting in 2 weeks for that committee's information only. And it is, of course, still subject to review by council as part of the overall budget process before being finalized. At the moment, we're looking at a 7.7% increase, which translates to just under $62,000. About 30,000 of that is inflation-driven increases to staffing costs for the existing team. We are asking for a third summer student to assist with offering drop-in service on Saturdays in June, July, and August, and other projects, and that's about another 15,000 of the increase. The remainder is again mainly due to inflationary pressures on our overhead, our insurance, and our supplies budgets. So having said that, thank you for your time so far, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay, questions for Councillor Moore?
Good morning. Just wondering, what hours are the archives open? I did Google it. I might know the answer, but I'll let you answer the question and then I have a second question.
Okay, so for drop-in service, which means doors are open, staff are sitting there waiting for people to walk in, it's Tuesday to Friday from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. And there's a second option, which is to request an appointment. And so that would allow people to come in on a Saturday. We just have to know ahead of time. Or if they need to come in another time around those 10 to 3, they can request an appointment. It just takes a bit of time to set it up.
Okay,
My second question then, and it's just in regards to the museum and the archives. If the archives was open on Saturday, does that affect the museum for when they are doing events? And they're quite successful right now. They have the Here and Now Theater, they have the stage in the back, and I have volunteered there before, and I have known there's been some issues with the parking and that. And I also would wonder, does a summer student stay there by themselves, or would you again have a second staff member? You legally probably would have to have 2 people. Do you really want to have a summer student there on a Saturday?
So there are always 2 staff on site, but on Saturdays in June, July, and August, it is 2 summer students working together, which is one reason why we're thinking perhaps a third student to offer a rotation because the students are working most Saturdays over the summer. Now, as far as events, we do have an agreement in place with the museum that's fairly recent and sets out what I think are pretty reasonable mutual obligations around parking, which boils down to keeping each other informed when some of these events that are likely to require use of the entire parking space at both institutions for either side's events is just let us know ahead of time so that we can plan around that. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, other questions? Counselor Richardson?
I gotta be right honest with you. I didn't realize their hours to the public were only 10 to 3, 4 days a week. I was thinking it was kind of a Monday to Friday thing. I guess I'm foolish. So I'm
Sorry.
going, okay, so you're not open to the public on Monday. And I know what the problem is with hiring summer students. We've dealt with it all summer long and lifeguards, and oh no, we're going camping this weekend, not working. You have all kinds of issues with that. And you know, maybe it's a different set of students, I don't know. But I'm looking at this and my thought would be, if you're not open to the public on Monday, you would shift your schedule around. And have somebody have Mondays off all the time. And if you wanted to be open on a Saturday, have that person come in on the Saturday perhaps. And do a shift. And I'm not sure what hours you're talking on Saturday. You talking like 10 to 3 again, or?
So on Saturday, yes, the hours are 10 to 3 for drop-ins during the summer, or even if someone has booked an appointment. So one of the reasons that there are 4 staff here, one of the reasons why we're generally closed for drop-ins on Mondays is if I do have to book 2 staff to open up on a Saturday the rest of the year by appointment, then those 2 staff would typically take that Monday as their lieu day. So it's a little bit less disruptive. We are open to having people come in on Mondays and Saturdays. Again, it's by appointment, and if you want to just drop in to use microfilm or the reference books that we keep out in the reading room, that's the 10 to 3 Tuesday to Friday drop-in hours.
Okay, so like I struggle when I see, when I looked at the budget and I see the, oh. Because I'm gonna, let's be honest, this year will be a tough year budgeting, like every year, but this I think year's gonna be worse because of other added pressures. And I struggle with adding more staff when you could maybe shift your schedule around to compensate that Saturday with what you already have. Here's my opinion.
Okay, Counselor McDermott?
Yeah, just a question on your revenues. Is there, are you just being conservative in 25 and 26 for your revenues compared to what this year is?
So the difference there is the $2,000. So that's the first of the grant, but not grant, the donation money from the Perth County branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society. They donated $10,000 this year to allow us to put our digitized newspapers online. And so that's that $2,000 increase in 24 that you're seeing there is that money for the first payment out of that. And I would expect that we would see that same increase in 25 and 26 as we continue with that project. But again, coming from the donated money rather than asking for extra funds through the council.
Okay, anyone else? I guess I have a question on process. So this will go to MSSC. We've had questions this morning about some of the expenses. So once it goes to MSSC and they approve it, then it's a given that county council can do nothing with it during the budget process. Oh, Corey, you can help us with that. Can you come to the table, please?
Through the warden. So these are essentially information budgets for our outside boards as well as their partners. Since this service is shared with the city of Stratford, basically a split of 56 for the county and 44% for the city of Stratford. It allows them a basis point on what to set their amount for to pay for archive services. They essentially cover 44% of that cost. So those increases, they're part of that 44%. So this is just allowing us to present that to the MSSC For deliberations at county council, we can make any changes we'd like to those budgets. It's just more of an information report for the partners to be able to allow them to set their budgets for the next coming year. So there's opportunity. It's not set in stone after MSSC looks at the budget and makes decisions and approves. It's not set until councils that are running the services have the opportunity to deliberate those amounts.
Okay. Thanks, Corey, for the clarification. I just want everybody to be aware of that, so everybody knows how it all works. Okay, Councillor Orr?
One question, Corey. Do we, when it comes to the summer students, do we run that through a grant process or?
There are some receiving the grants, and the opportunity is there. The county has been very successful in economic development with getting grants in relation to summer students.
Okay, anyone else with questions, comments? If not, we have a motion that council receives the MSSC 2024 budget report for Stratford Perth Archives and that council approves the report for submission to the MSSC budget meeting of November 16, 2023. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Duncan. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Betty Jo. Thanks, Corey, too, for clarification. We can just stay there because we're going to have one report in between and then a few. So next, we're going to move on to the POA Court Services, and we have Vicky with us this morning. So welcome, Vicky, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, Warden Agates and members of council. This report provides an operational update on activities at the Provincial Offences Court Services Office to the end of September 2023. This report also provides budget information as required by the Municipal Shared Services Committee for the November 16, 2023 meeting. The court dockets for the remainder of 2023 are completely full. Court services staff have early resolution meeting booking until the end of 2023, which will be adjourned to court dates in 2024. As council is aware, court services has been having operational challenges resulting from the last-minute court closures. At council's direction, a letter has been sent to the Attorney General, Doug Downey, as well as the Member of Provincial Parliament, Matthew Ray, expressing council's concerns and asking the Attorney General to take immediate action to ensure that adequate resources are available to the public. The pending caseload and court appearances have increased as a result of the court closures. The distribution of revenue has been calculated based on the actual fines paid and the location of each offense. Estimated revenue is based on the average of 5-year actuals. Consistent with prior reporting, revenue has been normalized to reduce the financial impact of COVID-19 in both 2020 and 2021 revenue amounts. As always, revenue is difficult to predict. For instance, for 2023, fine revenue to be distributed has exceeded the projected amounts. Expenses overall continue to increase. Overhead costs increased by 7%. The corporate overhead is the administration costs incurred to the POA department, which ensure the day-to-day operations are successful. This includes essential support from various departments within the county, which help court services operate daily. Salary costs have increased by 17%. This reflects the full year of the additional full-time court services clerk that was hired in April of 2023, which was required to address the higher volume of cases. This increase also reflects the cost of living adjustment that was passed in the summer of 2023. Schedule B of the Intermunicipal Service Agreement allows for a reserve for technology upgrade. The sum of $30,000 was budgeted based on estimates received to update the sound system in the courtroom to coincide with renovating the courtroom. The plan for 2024 is to purchase backup microphones and a mixer device to improve sound quality in the courtroom. Deficits are projected for 2025 and 26. Under the operating expenses in Schedule B, county administration costs, have included a contingency of $25,000 to cover any future deficit, which may not actually be realized. For instance, in 2022, the payouts were 252% higher, and in 2023, the projected payouts are 300% higher budgeted. Please note that this is a draft budget only, and Perth County Council has not yet had the opportunity to review the approve the 2024 budget. That concludes my report. Please let me know if there's any questions.
Okay, thanks, Vicky. Questions of the report? Councillor Trinkowski.
Through you, Warden. Thanks, Vicky, for the report. And this may be a bit of a touchy question, but on the subject of the court delays because of the lack of justices to hear the cases, we've submitted our letter requesting the province to address the shortage. Is it commonly done to seek redress for any delay costs that we've encountered? Is the one question. And then the second question, if we were to pursue redress for delay costs, does that negatively impact our previous request to the province to address the staffing shortage? Just have those questions on my mind. I'm just curious to see what your thoughts are on it.
Through you, Warden, I'm not 100% sure. I've never had to write a letter such as this, so I'm not sure exactly what we would do.
Okay, I didn't mean to complicate the issue that we already have, but just in other fields of work, whenever there was a delay, then someone, the party that was affected would seek some kind of a compensation, and I didn't know if that theory would hold over into this kind of situation or not, but that's fine. Thanks.
I'll let Annette.
So through the warden, I think we would have to do some legal research to see if we would have any recourse against the Crown to say that you weren't providing us with adequate resources to allow us, to perform our responsibilities under our memorandum of understanding with the Attorney General. So, we would argue maybe breach of contract to that effect, and to say that we've incurred a significant loss resulting from fine revenues from cases being dismissed. I've never heard of such a case. We would definitely have to do some research and maybe seek a legal opinion about that as a potential cause of action.
Oh, I guess I wasn't, thanks for the reply, Annette. I wasn't thinking so much in terms of the loss of revenue, but more just the cost and having to pay staff and not being able, like the overhead costs of staff being there to work, but they can't do the work. And then it gets delayed down the roads, but.
I'd fold that all into a damages claim.
All right, that's fine. I don't want to rock the boat in relationship with the province, but at the same time, there's a duty to our taxpayers to be financially prudent as well. So.
Okay, Councillor Aitchison.
That just said one word there that kind of tweaked on me really quick. Cases dismissed. And I have read. So we haven't had any in Perth County yet. Dismissed because they weren't dealt with in a timely fashion, because I have been reading where there was people they finally get into court, and it's like God knows how long after. And those charges have all been dropped because they weren't dealt with in a timely fashion. These weren't just, I went too fast charges.
So again, through the warden, those cases are decided on a case-by-case basis. There is a threshold which was established in case law, which is typically about 18 months for when a case is dismissed for delay, which is outside of the cause of something that the defendant, the person who's been charged, has done. There is case law which allows for a deduction of the delay related to COVID. So if you go before the court, the Provincial Offences Court, and you have been charged, you want a trial, and it takes longer than that 18 months, less whatever the COVID delay is, you then have a charter argument to say that my case should be dismissed for delay. That is decided on a case-by-case basis. So it's not that if there's a court closure, all of those cases are automatically dismissed. No, they are adjourned to another court date. And unfortunately, it keeps piling up, and it does increase the number of cases that are delayed of no cost to the defendant, which does result in cases being dismissed and lost fine revenue for us. So, it's not accurate to say it's a blanket dismissal of all of the cases. It's decided on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
Right, and the defendant and agent would have to bring that motion before the court. Talking about the delay in time.
Okay. Counselor McKenzie?
Well, I know we've sent the letter to the Attorney General, with a copy to Matt Ray. And I wonder if we shouldn't be following up, if there's an opportunity at Roma to meet with the Attorney General, just to influence our case in the letter, and certainly we could let Matt know that he could maybe sit in, but they were looking for delegations at Roma, and I'm not sure when the deadline was to apply, but there's an opportunity to go back, with a second attack to discuss our concerns.
Okay. Counselor Aitchison?
That might be even something, Walter, that Councillor McKenzie, the Western Ontario wardens might tackle.
Yeah.
We aren't the only,
No.
I'm reading where, like Lambton County or Middlesex, they're all got the same issue. So to try and do an individual appointment, you might get better traction out of Western Ontario wardens taking a run at it.
Oh, that's a good
I
point.
just thought.
No.
I can certainly ask. I know I asked about the MTOs, the roadways going into properties, and they said they would put it on the list. When we get in January, they pick out their priorities for the year, and then they focus more on those priorities. So, I could ask if this could be added to the list and see where Western Wardens would take it. So make a note of that.
We still have time for the delegation at Rome as well. November 20th is the deadline.
Okay, so delegations are when, November?
So through the warden, delegations for Roma have to be submitted by November 20th. So there's time for that as well.
Okay,
I guess a proactive approach would be, unless they're all Jim, why don't we book our own? And then if the Western Wardens are willing to take it on, we can always cancel ours and give it to the Western Wardens or whatever.
who is going to Roma? Unfortunately, I will not be there. I'm out of the country. So someone else may have to present. Okay, so what's council's wish? You want that added to the motion?
But just
Or you want
because
separate
you
motion?
ask, just because you ask doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get it either.
No,
So
no.
I think,
Yeah.
I think you could ask and then we'll worry about who's gonna do the presentation afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's deal with this motion first, and then you want a separate motion as a delegation?
Sure.
Okay, so is there any more questions on the report first? If not, then we have a motion that council receives the POA Court Services budget report for MSSC and operational update report for information, and that council approves the report for submission to the Municipal Shared Services Committee meeting of November 16, 2023. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Trinkowski, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. And then we also have you like a motion put on the floor that a delegation be made at Roma to the Attorney General to our court issues. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Vicky. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thanks, you as well.
Okay, now we're moving to 2024 fees and charges update, and Corey's going to do that. So Corey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warren Council. So 2024 fee charges update. This is to ensure fees for services are up to date and reflect cost recovery or fully proportionate to the organization. No other changes other than the planning services have been identified by managers in the 2024 fees and charges update. The updated fees and charges bylaw will also include a provision on an inflationary factor to be added to all fees and charges, except for provincial offenses as they were regulated by the province. These will include an automatic mechanism to increase fees instead of doing a full review. These changes will be identified and then be included in the fees and charges bylaw and will take effect January 1, 2024. Top of page 3 is essentially the planning service fees changes as proposed within the bylaw. If there's any questions, Andrea has joined me up here and would be happy to answer them.
Okay, morning, Andrea. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, we're just here to answer any questions.
Okay, questions, Councillor McDermott?
Just a quick question on page 152, the official plan amendment fees. So the 2024 recommended fee is 63.22. Then do you add the county fee charge on top of that? And then do you add the local administration fee on top of that?
Through the warden to Councillor McDermott, no, this 63.22 incorporates the county and the local fee. And then it's then divvied up between the county. So the county receives the money and then the locals would receive the amount related to their fee from the county.
Okay, no, I just wondered if it was added on or if it was, if that was prorated. No, that's fine.
Okay, other questions, Councillor Aitchison?
Do these new fees reflect full cost recovery?
Through the warden, yes, they do. Through the survey that we had provided with the member municipalities as well, providing information in relation to cost and rates and time spent at the local levels. You'll notice that on all the local components of the fees, their fees recovery has increased to incorporate the cost of time spent by not just legislative services, but other components of the staff at the local level.
Okay, other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives report entitled 2024 Fees and Charges Update, and that staff be directed to present the necessary bylaw to replace bylaws 3795-2021 and 3936-2023. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Corey, and thanks, Andrew. Have a good day. And we will now move to paramedic services. And our first one is the 2024 budget report for MSSC. Mike is here with us this morning and Chris.
Yes.
Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome, and the floor is yours.
Our first one was the MSSC, correct? Okay, so our, through the warden, thank you. I'll present this first report and then we'll move on to the next one. So this first report is a preview of the MSSC budget meeting report and is coming to council for approval to bring to MSSC. And of course, we're not approving anything in the budget as of yet, but this does provide a bit of a preview of what we're looking at during 2024. And in the report, we talk a little bit about the priorities that are upcoming next year. And just to highlight a few things, we are going through our public access defibrillator program renewal. More on that will come in the future, but that's something we're looking at in 24. The mobile integrated health strategy will continue to be developed as we continue to do that and work with community partners. So you're going to see some things in there about that. The master plan was something that was on our list, and we have a discussion about that. That's to help determine and help us to look at what we need to do over the next 10 years to have a sustainable paramedic service, both from a capital, but also from an operational standpoint. And then we're going to continue looking at technology. And one of the big items also is hiring and retention of employees, having healthy employees. So some of the budget drivers and that translates to is an increase in staffing costs. So this year we have population cohort of paramedics are moving from a certain level of vacation to a higher level of vacation. That has an impact on backfill. As well as we're going to continue to work on things like employee engagement and employee development and those types of strategies. Employee wellness, from a psychological wellness of paramedic standpoint, we do have annual training. Actually, we're this month going to be implementing the first one that council had approved from last year or for this year. So we're real pleased about that. That will continue in 24. And we also offer our part-time paramedics access to psychological support as well in that envelope if they don't have any other benefits. Inflation is continuing to have a significant impact. Defibrillators, which we're purchasing next year, are and technology has skyrocketed in price, as well as our vehicles. And we've talked about that before. In terms of cost containment, doing things like the hire that we just did, a significant hire in recruiting and putting some strategy into making those processes easier will help us to have more staff, which may reduce overtime costs. We're also looking at things that I've presented to council before, but not MSSC cooperative purchasing with Medivy Health Services through Cardinal Health, as well as those types of things. Defibrillator replacement is something that's coming up next year. I mentioned that. So that's replacing our actual units that we have on our ambulances that do 12 leads. They shock people. They do all the a whole bunch of magic. And then our mobile integrated health team will continue to grow this year. So then with that just gives you a bit of a context. The budget sheets are the last page of this, and I would open the floor to any questions that anyone may have at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives the Perth County Paramedic Services 2024 budget report for the Municipal Shared Services Committee report for information, and that council approve the Perth County Paramedic Services 2024 budget report for the Municipal Shared Services Committee to be presented at the November 16, 2023 MSSC meeting. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is the Paramedic Services Update Program Development.
Through the warden to members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to come and give you an update on the Program Development Division in EMS. It's relatively new to us. In 2019, council and the county approved the position that I hold. And since we've grown and established an assistant deputy chief in charge of education and recruitment, as well as our MIH program. So our entire division is focused on quality service delivery, monitoring, and regulatory compliance. In my report, I hope you find these things as exciting as I do. Coming out post-COVID, these are some things that we've had to focus on. So I've highlighted 4 of the key things that we've worked on last year. The first is addressing some of the HR challenges that we've had in EMS services with our student preceptorship program. So students graduating from colleges to be paramedics and become certified to consolidate an EMS service for a period of time before they can actually graduate and challenge their MCAT. We're going to leverage this period, and we've worked with legislative services to redo some legal agreements to allow us to place students with us. And so far, we've had a chance to present and run through about 40 second-year students as well as 100 first-year students. So we've begun the work for 2025 as well. The goal of this is not only to help them with their education, but also to help onboard them as potential employees in the future so that we can expedite that process at the end. So far, we have 6 students confirming that are going to come here in January with us, and we're hoping to get 2 to 4 more to give us our goal of about 10. The goal of that would be to essentially onboard them during this period and essentially be able to offer them conditional employment once they're done and they've successfully graduated, which would speed up the process of onboarding and prevent some recruitments. On average, we see it'll probably save us about $3,900 per employee to do it this way, as opposed to our traditional external recruitments. And we'll be able to bring them on a lot faster. So this is one thing that I'm very excited about, the work in our department is done. The next would be about innovation and research. So anybody who's been around, our division handles innovative strategies, research. We've done some STEMI research in the past, which is regarding heart conditions and transport to facilities that are specially designed to treat those conditions, as well as stroke. We've also developed things like the Fit to Sit program to help with hospital offload delays. This is historic. This year, we've gotten back into a lot of those things. And we've expanded Fit to Sit to Listowel Hospital so that we can help manage some of the surge capacities and the overloads in our hospital system. As well as we had partnered with OH and the Cancer Research Association. I think I got that one wrong, but to do some respiratory fit testing research here at our paramedic headquarters, where the group came in and actually tested respirators with our staff doing the core functions of the job to see what actually works best to protect our staff when they're out there dealing with pandemics and things like that. In 2024, we will start a prime trial, and most of it will be data collection, and it's a long-term study up until about 2027, where we're looking at intramuscular injections of epinephrine to pediatric cardiac arrest patients to see about survivability. So these are some of the other initiatives that we're working on. As well, we will be launching some treat and discharge protocols soon, which give paramedics the options to treat someone and then also discharge them so that we don't need to take them to the emerge in certain conditions. These have been passed by the province, and we're working through all the regulatory pieces right now on how to implement that safely and make sure that we have a way to monitor the quality care that's being delivered to our communities. The other thing we're preparing for is the expansion of different medications for our paramedics that will be available in the future. There will be some additions of opioid withdrawal sort of medications that we'll be able to administer, as well as opioids for pain management and different medications that help control seizure to help deliver better care and more advanced care to our communities. We'll be looking at that, because with that will become some increased training costs as well as infrastructure costs. So our division also oversees how we implement these things, monitor them, ensure that it's being delivered safely and in the effective way, as well as meeting our regulatory requirements. The other area I chose to talk to you about was return to work and mental health. So our division works closely with the county HR department to oversee all return to practice of clinicians. It's quite an interesting dynamic, especially, we deal with injuries, pregnancies, leaves of absence, as well as mental health injuries and people who've been off work for a period. And reintegrating them back into their clinical practice to ensure that they're ready, safe, and qualified to be able to go back and ready to do so. We work with the HR department as well as our union closely on that. This last year, we went back and revamped all of our policies and processes to make sure that we can educate our staff. And starting actually next week, with council support, we are delivering mental health training to all of our staff. It's focused on resiliency of the responder, as well as the supports that are available to them to try and prevent any sort of injury or insult before it becomes a problem for that individual to function either as a paramedic or even as a human. That's starting next week. Thank you for your support on that. Our contract provider is coming in to do that. And then there's a little piece from myself about all of the different accesses that have been set up by the county for every one of our employees and how they can access those resources. Knowing that mental health is going to be one of those focuses for the next few years, the division will be working on a plan to make sure that these are topics that we talk about quite often with our staff, as well as we will work on trying to remove some barriers in the accommodation and return to work processes aimed at trying to keep our employees at work as much as we can and making sure that they can thrive in this environment. We'll be working closely with our peer support and our human resources department to develop some metrics that will help us evaluate any change that we make to the program to make sure that it is actually the effective and right one for us to do. The last thing in my report that I would like to bring up is regulatory compliance. The division is really essentially, we are responsible for the implementation, the monitoring, and the reporting on just about everything that our core business does. So with regulatory compliance, we deal with a lot of the council reports and the metrics that you see will come through our division. A lot of our programs and changes that we make to deployment or response times will be evaluated by the division beforehand, with metrics and measures set up so that we can evaluate any change that we need to make and to ensure that we're delivering safe quality services to our communities. In 2024, there's a few things that we will have to focus on. One is the ambulance service review with the Ministry of Health. That'll be led by our division. We will also support the evaluation and potential need to change our medical record system, and just to ensure that it'll meet all of the obligations we have set out by the province. As well, we will be, as I mentioned, looking at all of the updated directives and potential clinical changes that will come up. And that information, once we know more about it, we'll bring it back to council to make sure that we're on the right path. And thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Wow, that's an awful lot.
You've seen my first report, Warden. I had to cut it down quite a bit.
Okay, any comments, questions on Chris's report? Councillor Aitchison?
Comment, I've said it, I've been, when I was the board, I was in this things that we comment, great job they do. Because I've told many of the paramedics, I couldn't do what you do. You talk about the mental health thing and return to work, and I'm sure they get into some situations that most of us could never deal with. And I'm sure it does affect them, and so the fact that you're looking after them, great. Just a
Okay.
comment.
Yep. Anyone else? I just want to echo Jim's comments, like, you wowed me, the stuff you just rhymed off to us, and I know you just do great work. It's great to see you going into the schools too and getting the kids right away and encouraging them to come here, and Perth County is a great place to work, so I think they're seeing that, and you guys make it look so easy. And I'm like Jim, I could never be a paramedic, I know that. So we thank you for all that you do and keeping us all safe, so.
All our staff out on the road today, right? They're the ones that are doing it also, yeah.
Takes an army.
Yeah. You guys are at the head of it and keeping it where it should be, so.
What I did find interesting is Perth County was kind of a destination of choice. That tells you a whole lot of things right there.
Through the warden to council, we thank you for all of your support over the years and into the future. You are what enables us to be able to do these things. And Councillor Aitchison, I'm super excited about how we've been able to recruit and retain some fine young talent to ensure that we have sustainability in our programs as well as quality individuals out there.
Okay, and if there's nothing else, then we have a motion that council receives the paramedic services program development update 2023 report for information. Moved by Councillor Orr, second by Councillor Katzenberg. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our last report in paramedics, the Ministry of Health response time performance plan annual renew.
So thank you to the warden. There's the report and then there's a verbal update.
Okay.
So we're gonna saw off the verbal update, that'll be separate, but so last questions and then don't move on to the next subject yet so fast.
Okay.
All right, so this is a response time performance plan update. I bring this annually to council. You've already had this data. It's the same information that we provided during the mid-year performance update. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Essentially, this does bring us, and in fact, maybe next year we'll bring this report at the same time so that it's not a duplication. It will just create a longer report. And we have a requirement as a municipality for municipality to set the response time performance plan standards. We have not made any changes to the response time performance standards this year. We continue to take action in, we are actively have received 2 of them in the last week, receiving fire service agreements for tiered response. So once those are all signed, then we'll have some data sharing information that's in here and that's in this report. The other thing is the CTAS 1 and sudden cardiac arrest. If we are responding greater than 8 minutes, we have a process that's in place where we continue to look at those calls on an individual basis and make sure that if there's any areas of improvement that we can, and often majority of the time, it's just distance and the rural nature of those calls that are creating those scenarios. And so then mid-year 2023 data, so that's to the end of June. You'll be able to see there we have the Sunny Kayak Arrest CTAS 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I also put in same as it's the same data, but in that previous report, the average response time, which also brings some context into the length of time on average it's taking to get to a call. While that's not required for us to report on, I think it's useful for us to at least have a look at that to see if there's any trends and changes in that area. So I open the floor for any kind of dialogue, discussion, or questions. One of the things that the CTAS 1 and 8 was something last year that came out of this conversation in council. So we implemented quality changes based on a conversation that we had at this table. It's an opportunity. If you have any questions, please do ask them. Otherwise, we'll move over to that off. So back to you, Warden. Thank you.
Okay, questions or comments of the report? Councillor Aitchison?
A couple of years ago, we were looking at some figures with the number of calls we receive in a year and the projected increases that we might get. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, so for 911 calls,
really climb in the number of calls because of the population, etc.
yes, we are anticipating that we'd be spot on to the what the forecast is, roughly around 911 activated calls around 11,000 for this year is what our forecast is at this point. So, but to be determined, because we still have got a couple months and that can either dip or increase, and we'll be reporting that back to council in early next year after budget when we do our annual report.
And we've had no code reds.
I don't have the stats in front of me here. There are occasional code reds, or I'm not sure what a code, we call them code criticals here. So if there's less than 3 ambulances, we do go into, or 3 or less ambulances, we do go into those, we will go into those timeframes, and there will be certain times where we wouldn't have ambulances to respond to a call for brief periods of time, but those are minimal, and I can certainly report back any information that you'd like. With respect to
our neighboring municipalities, has had a bunch of them lately.
We are not in a situation similar to either Waterloo or to London.
But so another reason I'm asking that question, budget. So do we need another bus? That's why I'm bringing it up now. Just to put in people's minds.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
And with our consultant report, the other thing that we look at every year is what our unit utilization is in the urban areas. So here in Listowel, as we know, we added a resource in the Listowel area last year. And so we have added the resources in those 2 specific areas. And, we have resources in those specific areas that we monitor very closely, because if our cities are getting too busy and then the ambulances are coming from the rural area, that's our commitment to come back to this table and have a conversation. That's a trigger. So we have that trigger. We look at that annually as well. And that would be in our annual report at this point in time for the RTPP. We're not bringing forward any changes because we feel that we have capacity in our system at the current moment for this year based on the investments that we've made this year from last year's budget approval.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, we have a motion that council receives the Ministry of Health Response Time Performance Plan Annual Renewal Report for information. Moved by Councillor Orr, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Carried. Verbal report, is that later?
Yeah, just so I was going to give a report on we had mentioned to council previously, we're going to give a report on the mobile integrated mental health community response team. We had applied for funding to the province because there was an opportunity through the Southwestern Wardens Caucus for municipalities to apply to this funding. From what I understand, 5 municipalities applied to the funding. We were not the successful. Unfortunately, we're not the successful recipient. It did go to Lambton at this time. And our proposal did go into Minister DeBola's office and our associate minister, I should say. And we are going to do a debrief with the Huron Perth Healthcare Alliance, CMHA, ourselves, and police services. And they did invite us to have a conversation with the associate minister. So we're going to and see if there's anything else that we can do. Like one of the unique things in our application was actually bringing peer support to the person in the community. So it could be somebody that's precariously housed, or it could be somebody that's in a rural setting where we would again be able to bring a mobile unit to them. We're going to work with CMHA to do that. So there were some unique aspects in there, and we do feel that if we sit down and have a conversation, there might be something we could still bring forward and at least have a conversation with the province. So that would be the next step anyways, is to have a debrief with the team that put the application in together, which was led by us, because that's where the funding was to go through. So I just wanted to provide you with an update on that, and then I'll pass the microphone back over.
Okay, well, that's great. Any questions on what Mike just told us? Nope. Do you need a motion for that verbal? Okay, so we'll motion to accept Mike's verbal report, moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Mike and Chris. Great reports. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
I know there's nothing on here for public works, but sorry, John, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think you had some great news this week in the courthouse, so maybe you can share that with council.
Thanks, Gordon. It's, yeah, just a verbal update to council on a couple of things here. One, you might have noticed yesterday that the winter season is upon us, and just to remind both council, the public, and staff that the county's winter operations is ready to go. We did respond to many areas in the county yesterday, and our official start date for our winter shifts is November 13th, where we bring on additional seasonal staff operations. The good news, yesterday we received TSSA certification for the courthouse elevator. We're ecstatic about this. This is a game changer for the courthouse, for public, for staff, and for our tenants. We still do have a few minor things to get done with that project. So it's all complete. We hope that's done within the next 2 weeks. And we'll be looking to have a more of a kind of a soft opening right now, but a more grand opening there, perhaps after next council meeting. So again, it's been a long process, but yesterday was very satisfying, knowing that we can use the elevator.
Thanks, John. Great news. Thought everybody would like to hear that. So you want a motion to accept his verbal reports?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion? Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so next on the report is warden activities. That's the places I was for the month of October. Any questions? Where I was, what I did? No? Okay, then we have a motion that council receives the warden activity report September 23 to October 23 report for information. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Deputy Warden Kellum. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have a bylaw. Bylaw 3947-2023 to be read a first, second, third time, finally passed the second day of November 2023. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Orr. All in favor? Carried. Do we have any notice of motions? Nope. Okay, then we're moving to other business, and the item we have in other business is the warden and deputy warden election nomination intent. And we will go around the table and ask everyone what their intent and what they wish to do. I'm going to start. First, I'm going to thank all of staff for all that you do, all the managers and everyone else in every department. I can't thank you enough for the support that you've given myself and council this past year. The years went quick. It just seems like we were sitting here and doing our intent. And I don't know where the year went, but it's been quite a year and quite a lot of things I've got to go to and do. But I can't say enough for all the support that's behind the scenes that people don't see. And that's all of you. So thanks again for what you do. And my husband's going to shoot me, but I am going to run another year. So he doesn't like me gone as much as I am, but he does support me. So he will agree that I'm going to do this. So I will put my name forward and see what happens, and I'll let go around the table and see what else everyone else is doing. So Jim, you can be next.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Someday down the road, but no, not right now.
No, my schedule's full. I have enough to keep me busy for the year upcoming, and thanks to staff and fellow councillors at County Council for making me welcome and part of the team. Appreciate it.
Deputy Warden Kellum.
Open in the ribs every once in a while.
No, I need that. Hey, sure.
For you, thank you, Warden Higgins. And yes, it's been a great year for me. I have learned a lot. At times I have had to put the warden in her spot. But no, we have worked very well together. Staff is delightful to work with, and working with council and support. And yes, I will be submitting my name for deputy warden.
I think the warden and the deputy warden have done a great job, and I would fully support them going forward.
I agree with Councilor McDermott's sentiment, and I think you are both doing a great job, and I would support you going forward as well.
Okay, Councillor Kassenberg, we'll jump to you.
Thank you. No, I have no intention of running for.
Just hang on. You're muted.
Okay.
There, okay.
I have no intention of offering for service in those capacities this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be back next year.
I would agree that I do think that you two do a good job, so I have no intent on anything. Thank you for the education this year of being on council. It's been good. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. Myself, I have no intentions at this point to run either the ward or deputy, but perhaps in the future. So we are working well together. I appreciate staff, and yeah, I look forward to the next year.
Okay, and I want to thank all of council too for all your support and being there and helping and all you've done and supporting Doug and I the last year as well. And I'll be honest, when I got on council 23 years ago, I had no aspirations whatsoever to ever be the warden or the mayor. Here I am. So, but it's a great experience. It's one that I'm very glad and grateful that I have done in the past year. And yeah, I look forward to another year. Okay, great. Any announcements? No. Okay, we do have a need for a closed session. So this time we have a motion that says that Perth County Council move into closed session at approximately 10:18 a.m. in accordance to section 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C.25 to consider a matter pertaining to labor relations, HR, a matter pertaining to negotiations, CAO, a matter pertaining to negotiations, public works, and
through the warden, a matter pertaining to security, verbal update, paramedic services.
okay, so we need a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Tronkowski, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we have a motion that bylaw 3948-2023, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of County of Perth at its regular meeting held November 2nd, 2023, is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed November 2nd, 2023. Moved by Jim McDermott, second by Councillor Orr, all in favor? Carried, and the last motion of the day is that county meeting be adjourned at 11:00 19 AM. Moved by Counselor Kassenberg, second by Counselor McKenzie, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone.